want to grab a cup of coffee, we do it easily. Our brain fires, our hand moves, and coffee is ours. Now imagine you want to do it. Your brain sends the instruction, but your hand stays still. That's the reality for almost 100 million stroke survivors across the world. My name is Sam Darvishi, and today I want to share with you a journey I've been on across the last 16 years. To tell you why I'm doing this, I need to take you back to my childhood. As a child, I stuttered severely. Words were mountains I couldn't climb. Every conversation was a challenge. It taught me how hard it was when some part of your body doesn't follow your brain. As I grew up, my speech got better. It's not perfect. You may notice it during this talk. But I promised myself that if I get the chance to ease the burden of disability for others, I'll take it. Fast forward to 2012 when I started my PhD in neural engineering at the University of Adelaide. I was looking for a pressing problem in the realm of neural injuries to solve. I figured out that not only stroke affects so many people, I noticed stroke affects the society on multiple levels. It not only affects the person whose life turns upside down overnight, it affects the person's family, spouse. As a spouse, you may need to even quit your job to become 24/7 carer. As a friend, you may lose the company of a caring buddy. And as a community, you miss the contribution. So I went through the literature and figured out that in fact, the neighboring area to the lesion side may be able to take over the function of it. However, there was no connection between that neighboring area and the target muscles. So I asked the question, what if we record the signals from those neighboring areas, give it to a machine learning algorithm to interpret, and send signals to robotic manipulator to move the target muscles? The answer to that question became a product that we call it today RehabilitationSwift. And this is how it works. We ask the person to imagine a movement like extending their fingers. In the meantime, they wear a special cap, we call it EEG cap, which allows us to record the electrical activity of the brain totally non-invasively on the surface of the scalp. And when we detect the intention to move by the machine learning algorithm, we send signal to a bionic hand to extend their fingers in real time. But here's the breakthrough, the timing. When you have that intention to move, to grab that cup of coffee, there is a delay between when your brain fires and when your hand starts moving, somewhere between 60 to 100 milliseconds. Others ignore this, but I realized that every brain operates on its own timing pattern. For instance, some stroke survivors could have a delay of 1,500 milliseconds. For others, it could be only 400. So if we could personalize the feedback delay per individual based on their brain timing, we could connect those neighboring area to the target muscle. Why? Because in neuroscience, we say neurons that fire together, wire together. After that, we ran a study in 2015 with a stroke survivor who was 3.5 years post-stroke. Only after 5 hours of training sessions, we improved his arm and hand movement by a significant amount. It wasn't perfect recovery, but his grip and pinch got stronger, and we gave him back part of his independence. Seeing those results, in 2018, we decided to commercialize RehabilitationSwift, It wasn't easy. It was lonely. There were lots of closed doors, lots of doubters. But then it was that I realized that medical innovation doesn't fail because the idea is not good enough. It fails because we quit too soon. I couldn't quit because I had a why stronger than my fears. And when you're driven by service rather than success, failure becomes impossible. Because you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for those who just want to hug their loved ones with both arms. You're doing it for those who just want to eat with fork. We finally managed to secure some funding through accelerating commercialization scheme and run clinical trials, this time with 12 stroke survivors. Once again, we improved their lives. They were able to achieve important but tiny goals, such as manipulating the door handles, being able to hold their mugs. And the study was published in PNAS Nexus in 2024, and prestigious news outlets such as Associated Press covered our story. Now, the technology that doctors thought was impossible was changing lives. But had we finished the mission? No, we'd just begun. When you want to learn playing piano, you may take sessions on a regular basis, like once or twice a week. But that's not the end of it. You need to go home and practice regularly to master playing piano over time. Similarly with RehabSwift, even if we provide stroke survivors with precision clinical therapy, they need access to home-based training to accelerate their recovery. And that was why we introduced ProRehab, a companion to RehabSwift, which allows stroke survivors practice guided robotic mirror therapy every day as many times as they want. And here's the complete picture. Precision clinical therapy with RehabSwift and relentless practice using ProRehab at home. Now let me tell you a sad truth about medical innovation. Even the most advanced medical technology remain inaccessible to those who need them the most. We knew that those in regional areas, those in developing nations, won't have access to our RehabSwift therapy. And that was why we asked ourselves, how could we make stroke rehabilitation available anywhere, anytime? In other words, how could we democratize stroke rehabilitation? And today, I'm making an announcement that solved that problem, at least for the accessibility of ProRehab. As of January next year, we're making ProRehab totally open source. That is, the hardware design, the software, training protocols, everything. This way, all those 100 million stroke survivors across the globe could have access to it. Why we do it? What if an engineering student in Lagos could adapt it for her grandma? What if stroke survivors in remote villages of Peru could practice finger movement every day, as many times as they needed, in the convenience of their homes? So if you're an engineer, a clinician, a maker, a researcher, a stroke survivor or their carer, a decision maker, a policy maker, I have an open invitation for you. Think about how could we collectively make stroke rehabilitation democratized and build the future of stroke rehabilitation. And if you're not fully convinced about the impact of this line of work, I need to share with you some numbers. In fact, the global burden of disease for stroke accounts for a massive number. It's $900 billion per annum. That's the cost of a stroke per year. That means bringing down that burden by only 1% is a $9 billion contribution. I leave you with a final sentence that has been my North Star across this journey. When you dare to serve, the only way forward is up. Thank you.